Hello, my name is Ian Solano. I am a sophomore at California State University, Northridge, majoring in marketing. Today we have Rafael with us. Rafael, please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, Rafael Castro here from Tampa, Florida, University of South Florida. I'm also getting into my second year majoring in chemistry.
Cool. So, Rafael, tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of what college you go to, and were you a transfer student? How did you choose this college, and what makes it so special?
Right. So, actually, here in Tampa, Florida, been living here basically my entire life. I moved here from Puerto Rico, which is where I was born. And I've been here 16, 17 years ever since.
Mhm.
And I actually lived literally 20 minutes from my university for my entire life and basically never considered it as a legitimate contender.
Interesting.
It was really funny because I was in an advanced program in my high school, so everyone was really competitive, looking at the big shot schools, which in
Yeah.
my state is University of Florida, which is the holy grail here in Florida, and of course like the Harvards and Stanfords and stuff like that. But being 20 minutes away from the University of South Florida, I never even considered it as an option until I got to my senior year, and I was like, well, you know what? It's cheaper. And medically, which was my like kind of forte and where I wanted to go in terms
Mhm.
of medical research and stuff like that, it's a really great school. So I figured why not give it a shot and haven't regretted it ever since. My first year there just ended today. Just finished my last you know class today for the summer term. So I'm getting to my second year in the fall. So
Oh, wow.
never look back. Yeah. So
That's awesome.
in terms of how I picked it, it literally was kind of a last minute decision almost. Because like I said, I always had these big schools at the top of my list, and I got into them too. But when all the chips fell on the table, USF was kind of like the well-rounded, got a little bit of everything, but close to home. I still live at home, and I'm saving money in that end. So yeah, it was just really great experience, kind of finding a college that was right in front of my nose the whole time, and
That's
so
fascinating.
yeah, for
So
sure.
I actually commute also, and so I
Yeah.
live like maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes away from my university, and I had the same experience where I didn't really know that, I was going to end up there or I decided to go there. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now that I've been here, I mean, I same with you. I went to a really competitive high school. They were all
Uh-huh.
talking about going to like UC Berkeley, Stanford, Harvard, and all those big shots. And so there was a certain point where it's like, oh shoot, like I'm just gonna go to this school that's 20 minutes away. But after
Right.
I've been here for a year, I've realized, dang, it's like there's a lot of like really positives to it. You save a lot of
Exactly.
money. The community here is really good. And like there's just so many things that people don't consider when they think about like, oh, I need to go somewhere else to go to university. But
Exactly
I
right.
think students really need to reevaluate like the positives, the pros and cons of staying at their local university because there's so many different benefits to it.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And a big thing too was especially in my high school, I actually had to travel quite a bit to get to my high school, so it's kind of farther away from, I guess you could say, the city and where everything's going on. So at my high school, the huge like emotion was like everyone wanted to just get out of town. Like I want to go to a big school, big city,
Yeah.
have that college life. And then I mean, but at the end of the day, like I said, everyone kind of it wasn't only myself. Like I said, everyone kind of wanted to get into that big school, but then it was me and myself and like 30 other kids at the same time were all like, well, the school that's in town and local is not that bad. And then,
Yeah.
like you said, once I got into it, I was like, wow, I not only am I saving all this money, but I feel like I'm pretty much getting more or less the same experience that I would be getting at these big schools.
Yeah. I
So
know.
it's like, I can't believe I didn't find this option earlier
Yeah,
almost.
I definitely think it's about the student and like finding the resources.
Oh,
And
yes.
so I'd like to ask you, is there a career center that helps you, or like what are the types of resources that are provided in university, and how has that helped you with your career?
Yeah, so that was another big thing, I guess you could say, in finding my college. That me and my dad and I were kind of the main factors in deciding where I went. We actually took, funny enough, we took a tour to UF. Like I was saying, that was like our kind of our next top contender.
Hmm.
And the thing there, it was a great school, but we remember going, and because it's such a big school, and because there were so many people there on that day, our experience with the resource centers and kind of meeting with counselors and things like that was kind of lackluster.
Hmm.
Like we kind of felt like, oh, they're not really connecting with us, and like kind of feels more or less like we're not a number per se, but people say that saying like, oh, I'm just a number,
Yeah.
not a student. It kind of got that vibe. And then I went to this local school, USF, and their career center is way bigger. Imagine that for a smaller school. So with them, yeah, they have so many resources, and what I like with them is it's all people. A lot of things are getting really automated now, and oh, look it up online, Google it, this and that. But with them, it was like, yeah, let's set up a meeting. I'll meet you here at this time, and it's a lot of face to face with them at USF. So, in terms of career, in terms of financial aid, in terms of everything here at USF, there's so many. Like it's actually impressive how vast. It is where you can connect with people and email people, and it's a lot of over the phone and face to face, not so much texting or
Yeah.
messaging, which helps, of course, for people that can't get there. But being lucky enough to live close to the university, I love that part of it, where it's a lot of personal interaction kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. In my school, because it's not that big as like the other UCs or Cal State University schools,
Exactly.
it's very easy to have curated answers and have one-on-ones with your counselors, like having that time for them to review your resume or giving you advice or that mentorship really helps out. And then
Right.
there's a community around like going to a small school or a local school that really helps out when it comes to careers and finding what you want to do in the future. And
For sure.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a specific major or have you, what's up?
Yeah. So, right now I'm basically in this program that, well, it doesn't really force me, but my major is chemistry by kind of default, you could say.
Uh-huh.
It's a program that kind of tries to accelerate you. I've always like to keep myself, going and push myself and challenge myself. So I joined an accelerated program through the Honors College here at USF.
Yeah.
So my major was chemistry. I couldn't even really choose, but not that I'm not interested in that. That is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then like I said, here at USF, like I think the biology and chemistry field is 50% of the school population, and then the other 50% is every other major. So the focus on this at my school is just huge. So I really like that. Obviously,
Is that
I'm a
mainly the reason why you chose it? Or as in like how did you get into STEM or chemistry? Why not business or marketing?
Right, yeah, great question. Because yeah, my dad got his MBA at UF, so he's a huge business kind of guy. But for me, I don't know, it was just something really interesting where I knew that from the onset, like I remember from elementary school thinking that no matter what I want to do, first of all, I want to help people. And I never want to be stuck in front of a computer all day. Like
Yeah.
I want to be working with people definitely every day. So that was number one for me. And number two, it was just I think it was just pushing myself through elementary, middle school, high school, and I think in my state at least they really push a big focus on STEM for right now,
Hmm.
and just learning about all these different things. Like I remember over a summer, like my with my advanced program, you didn't have to take a summer class, but
Yeah.
I did because I was so interested in learning about anatomy. So I took anatomy online over the summer, and that was my sophomore year. And I remember taking that class, and I was like, yep,
This is
this
it.
is what I want to do
That's
for
interesting.
sure. Like it's so interesting, and especially with medicine and biology, there's so many different things that you can choose from. Like it's mind blowing. I'm starting my second year, and I'm still dizzy with all of the
Yeah.
different fields that you can go into. Like it's crazy, man. And but yeah, helping people, and then just the deep interest in science and medical stuff that I just started so early on that when I got to college, it was a no brainer for me. I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm gonna major in a medical field.
Is
That's it.
there, so you said you wanted to help people. Is there a specific career that you're looking into that does that, or is it mainly like a doctor or someone that makes medicine? Or what type of
Sure.
like careers are you looking into in terms of like merging STEM with your desire to help other people and help the community? Like what type of career does that look like?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, so with STEM, like I said, there's so many choices. And for the people that don't want to work with people, there's nearly as many options for that.
Mhm.
Like, working in a lab and stuff like that. But for me, someone that really wants to be, working with people every day and have personal interactions, there's just as many. For me, I'm really interested in more of the chemistry side of medicine, I guess you could say. And so anesthesiology right now is kind of the track that I'm looking towards, which is actually really big in Florida. Florida, I think I remember reading a statistic, the first, number one in the state for surgeries, volume of surgeries. And so obviously for most surgeries, you need anesthesiologists. So that's why for me, it's been an interesting thing. Um, and yeah, it just combines, like I said, all the things of helping people. A lot of times people don't think of the pre and post surgery part of things,
Mhm.
get diving into specifics a little bit. But anyways, pre and post surgery, you still work with the patient and talking about, okay, beforehand, what kind of sedation do you want? Things like that. How intense does it have to be? Working with the surgeon, working with the patient, and then afterwards, are they okay? Making sure that they're recovering well, things like that. Um, so that's kind of, I think, generally, I found the idea over the last year, taking all my classes where I want to go and talking again to the to the resource helpers and my advisors and stuff like that at my university. But even still, like I said, in my second year, I'm not 100% sure. Like I could totally change my major. I could change anything,
Yeah,
which is something that's really, really helpful with the schools that they keep pushing that. Like I remember I meet with my advisor every time and he's like, hey, glad that you're totally into this, but if at any time you want to change, we'll pivot full on. You can go, you can do whatever you want. And so that's something that's really helpful with them.
that's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm personally in marketing, and before I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Right.
Um, I actually joined American Marketing Association, funny enough, and
Sure.
it exposed me to a lot of different career fields and paths that I can go to in terms of marketing. And so now I know I want to go into advertising.
Cool.
Um,
Nice.
do you know what an association is?
Um,
Do you
I
belong
actually
to any?
no, I don't think I do, and I don't very know what it is. So could you tell me more?
Yeah, of course. And so an association is basically an organization made up with professionals and educators. So the one I'm part of is called American Marketing Association. It's specifically in marketing. There's others that are deal with dentistry. There's others that deal with chemistry, architecture, different types of
Hmm,
associations. And they basically are like a help that helps you with like learning more about your industry. And so for the American Marketing Associate, they provide a lot of workshops, seminars, there's networking events so that you can easily explore the field and really understand it so you can
sure.
know exactly where you want to fit into. And so in your case, you want to go into STEM. It would be good if you join an association that way so that you can explore different fields, meet people that are already in those fields and talk to them, say like, hey, like, how do you like working with medicine? How do you like working with people? Do you work with people a lot or is it just a myth, you know?
For
And
sure.
so it's a lot of informational stuff that that really helps your career as you explore your college and, knowing exactly what you want to do. So it's really cool.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds
Yes.
really great.
So, Rafael, tell me, do you have any internships or apprenticeships? Like, what is next for Rafael? Like, what is the plan? What are you
Yeah,
doing
for
this
sure.
summer?
Yeah, yeah. So the plan definitely that's something that I've always been big on and my advising program specifically is really big on. They always want you to have an idea, okay, what's next? Where am I going?
Hmm.
Because a lot of times when you lose that foresight and that vision, you kind of just do things to do them and there's no point in them. So for me, I am starting my second year now, and more or less the focus will still be towards academics. The thing that I've always really liked about these programs, like I had a program in high school, and then I'm in an advanced program again in university, is like they always have kind of like a layout of something that you like a track that you should be following. So like take these classes and take these classes, and a lot of people find that really restrictive, but I actually find it really, really helpful, and it almost gives you a little bit more freedom because okay, this year I'll be doing this summer I'll be doing this and that. So actually, the focus right now for me isn't so much on internships or volunteering, as much as I'd want it to be, because I really want to get that kind of hands-on with the real world stuff. But for right now, I would say at least for this next semester or two, focusing on meeting the parameters academically, which it's kind of good to have just to focus on that. I like to have like all my eggs in one basket, so I
Hmm.
can kind of push really hard on that. But the year after this one is going to be my third year in university, and that's when I'm really going to have to ramp up my a lot of my connections, internships, shadowing,
Yeah.
volunteering, because the year after that is when I'll be applying to med school, and they're huge on that kind of stuff. So you need a lot of like personal interaction, meeting doctors, not only meeting them, like working with them, and really, really diving into my field, because I feel like I'm sure this applies to every field, not just medicine. You need to get in there, get in the front lines, and see what it's like
Yeah.
to work that. Because like
Yeah.
so many people have these. I mean, it could be law. People watch Law and Order and are like, oh, I want to be
Yeah.
prosecuting people
But
like that.
once you
It's
get
crazy.
into the like, the nitty-gritty, you realize that's different from what you see in
It's
television.
different. And it could be
Yeah.
better, it could be worse. Like it could be more of what you like, or you could go into it. I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't what I imagined it to be. So that's what I'm really, really excited for. Because like I said, I'm still like iffy on what I want to do. And I know that that's going to open my eyes and be like, okay, this is
Mhm.
definitely what I want to do, or I need to tailor it a little bit and kind of go away from it. Um, so do I have any like internships lined up? Unfortunately, not yet, but I'm really excited to within a year or two and really get into to medicine officially and finally
Yeah.
find out what I want, if that's what I want to do.
That's interesting. So I
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
lot of friends who are in STEM, and I think one of the questions I always ask them is, what can you do right now to get ahead of the game or make yourself stand out when you're applying to these things? Because I know um, you always STEM students typically focus on academics a lot,
Sure.
but because you can't get an internship as a doctor, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
And of
so
course.
for marketing, you can easily go into a social media manager and you can intern that way. But how does a STEM student stand out when they first come into their freshman year? And you might not know the answer. You know, I'm just throwing it
No,
out
yeah.
there. If you're a freshman or a sophomore in college and you're going into STEM, what can you do to help yourself stand out by aside from getting these internships or all these like really hard things that you're expected to get after you graduate college?
Sure, yeah. No, and that's a great point too that you mentioned about I mean, obviously in STEM as with any other field, academics is like probably the biggest focus. Um, but I remember going to a seminar here at my university a couple months ago now, I think. And it was actually a guy that used to judge medical school applications at his university. So obviously this guy knows what he's doing. And it's interesting because if you think about it, and this is, pretty logical, I guess you could say, more than like 70-80% of the applications they get perfect GPAs,
Yeah.
near perfect MCAT scores. So yeah, what's going to make you stand out? Because everyone is applying with 4.0 GPAs. Like, yeah, that's great, but you're not very unique, right? You
Mhm.
know, everyone's got that perfect score. Everyone's got the perfect GPA. So I would say, especially early on, um, the bigger the better. Like, if you can fit it into your schedule, do it. Like, unfortunately, me with school and work, I'm not the best with that. But I have so many friends that are like volunteering in 3, 4 different, medical societies,
Oh
this and
wow.
that. And I've already started interning and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And for example, I know one girl who's like almost written a book already, and she's gone to Africa and helped with that. So it's like crazy stuff like that where you literally go like, oh my gosh, how are you doing
Yeah.
this in the middle of your freshman year? But if you like, I mean, standing out is the key, and so the bigger the better. Do everything that you can, and I say that, but even then, it can be the small things too, like going locally. Like there's so many operations that people don't know about locally that you can help out. And then all of a sudden, if you start as a volunteer, but then say, hey, they really like you and they start moving you up, all of a sudden you're like vice president of a club or you're vice president of a new
Yeah.
organization that's volunteering and helping, feed the homeless people locally or, provide medicine to the homeless people, things like that. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're on medical school's radar because you're in the local newspaper. So I say go big or go home, but I mean it can even be small stuff like that. But things that you wouldn't normally think of, and that people would read and say, "Wow, that's really impressive."
Mhm.
So try to do things that you would never think of before, and I think starting things up is really great. Like I have a couple friends that, like I said, are presidents of clubs, and I'm sure they're not going to have any trouble getting into the medical school because
Yeah.
that's such a great thing, really. So yeah, I think try to be original, but also just do what you can and get out there, and just getting your name out there is what's really important
Mhm.
for sure.
Well, you look like you're a very knowledgeable college student. So I'm pretty sure you're going to go far. So thank you so much for this interview and good luck.
Thank you so much, Ian. Nice to meet with you. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye bye.